Good morning. I'm going to call the session of the Board of Revision to order. I'd like to commence by making the statement that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. Our board consists of Ron Merritt, who's farthest to my left, Ms. Lynn Nesbitt to my left, and my name is Harvey Diamond. The city assessor is Matthew Barakis, and our assistant is Kelsey Harrison. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment rolls in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision have been requested are described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that applicants and the assessor make in this hearing must be sworn testimony, and anyone speaking must be sworn in. Please be advised that comparison assessments of other properties are not considered evidence by our board. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by council, and we're independent of it and the city administration. We make our decisions on the basis of the evidence that we hear, and that alone. And after hearing that evidence, we will provide written orders that will be mailed out as soon as possible after the hearing today. Please note that our decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Assessment Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to an application for exemption from taxation. And should you wish to appeal, the method and how to do so will be included with our order. We start the hearing process. I will confirm the matter to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions. And after the questions have been finished, then you will provide your evidence, every applicant, and we will then again ask questions. And after all the questions are asked and the hearing, all the evidence is in, we'll give you an opportunity to summarize if you wish to do so. Once all the evidence and all applications are brought forward, on each matter the party may leave, and the process will begin and repeat itself for every other matter on the agenda. After all the matters are finished, we will then cease the hearing. We will deliberate after, and we'll provide our decisions by registered mail as soon as possible. And this public hearing will be live streamed and recorded and form part of a public record. So we can then have the party sworn in. We'll proceed first of all with the property at 247 Yonge Street. So applicants may come forward.
Would you like to swear in on the Bible or affirm with oath?
Affirm.
Could you please state your name?
Matthew Steenbrook.
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Would you like to swear in on the Bible or affirm with oath?
Swear on the Bible.
Could you please state your name?
Cornelius Leo Sorsma.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Mr. Barakis, when you're ready, you can proceed.
Roll number 120910825000247 Yonge Street, April 1st, 2018. Assessed value $727,000. It's in a 3-story apartment building, built in 1925. 10 outdoor parking spots, 28 suites, wood or steel framed exterior walls. Construction class D. Of the 28 suites, 13 of them are bachelor, and 15 of them are 1-bedroom suites. Model rent is $380. Gross potential rent on the 28 suites is $127,680. With a 61.43 expense ratio, it comes up to a net operating income of $47,966. Capped as per our parameters for the model at 6.6. Comes up to a rounded estimated market value of $727,000. Rent comparables are found on page 4. 3429. They all feature bachelor suites, except for comparable one on Furby, which is 4 one-bedrooms. They're all older apartments. With gross floor areas that bracket that of per unit of the subject property. If you look at page 5, that's our cap chart. Page 7 shows the most recent income and expense mailer submitted to the department, showing net operating income of $49,714. So $49,714 what they're declaring, and $47,966 on our model net operating income. It looks like we're good there. As the net operating income similar. CAPS model, no change was made. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions to the assessor?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
I see for the income, on your income value summary, you show gross potential rent of $120,680. What source did that figure come from?
You're talking about on page 3?
Yes, please.
It's a modeled rent, based on comparables generated by the model.
Mhm. So it closely resembles the actual income that's provided on the questionnaires that are submitted here?
Yeah, like it looks like we're a bit higher on the effective gross income, but we're also a bit higher on the expenses, so the net operating incomes are highly similar.
Okay.
Still looking
Okay, thank you. Thanks very much.
That's it? Mr. Mayor, do you have any questions to the assessor?
Mr. Barakis, your cap rate of 6.60, how was that, what determined that cap rate for the property?
Oh, that was just age and area. It's modeled, it's divided up by age and area based on the information we got.
So, did you go past the property at all?
Unfortunately, no, I haven't had time to inspect any properties.
So you can't really tell us whether the exterior is brick or any graffiti on the building or anything like that?
No, I could not.
And like you say, the cap rate is associated with location and when it was built.
That is correct.
So you can't really tell us anything other than those facts, and you can't tell whether this is a good area of town or is it not, or is there any sort of increase in regards to the cap rate for that location for maybe a bad area?
Okay, so we're 1925.
What I'm basically asking for, is there any increase in regards to the cap rate for the area itself? Cleaning?
No, not for Market
Okay.
Region 7.
Okay, so nothing in there? Okay,
No, it was done by age.
okay. I thank you then, sir.
Mrs. Smith, any questions to the assessor?
Yeah, you say age, what are the breakdowns in age? Like how does age?
So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 5 age brackets.
What page are you looking at?
Oh, I'm just speaking to my.
Oh, it's on your own sheets, okay.
inside stuff. So we've got 1945 and earlier. We also have 46 to 59, 1960 to 74, 1975 to 1997, and 1998 and later. I should also mention that they did This time around, the modelers also did break it down based on the size of the area as well.
Side.
So it's year built, and then it has 3 other columns for size, and so they refined it that way as well.
Size of?
Size of the premise, the gross floor area.
Gross floor area.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's also a factor, so location, gross floor area, and when it was built.
Okay. And you have not inspected the property?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay. And these rent comparables, they're all within the same neighborhood market? Is that, did you say market 7 or?
Yeah,
Market
they would
Region
be,
7?
they would be comparable,
They're all
yeah.
within, close by?
they would be comparable.
Okay. Okay, that's all the questions, thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Ricketts, just for clarification, I look at the table that you provided us, and it shows that low-rise B, which I imagine this property would be. The cap rate for the city can be anywhere between 4% and 7.3%.
That's correct.
So this property you've actually got at 6.6, which is towards the high end. But what would it take to have gotten to 7.3?
It would be this age of property and this size of property in Market Region 4, which is the north end.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask one
Absolutely.
question to the assessor? I think that you have a rate here, a cap rate of 6.6. So I've been sitting on the board for a number of years, and it's most unusual that you would come up with a figure that is, you know, not quarters, not halves.
Yeah.
So is this something new that the city has gone to? Because normally you would probably look at maybe 6 3/4 or, you know, 6 1/2. So why is have you fine-tuned your model?
That's what the modelers have done, and you're correct, in the past, it's been a quarter point. But they decided to avoid having cliffs at years as much. They wanted to smooth it out more by considering premise area and also making the differences between the cap rate changes smaller.
Okay, I thank you.
Actually, I think it's a good revision, because a cap rate of 10% or 12%, a quarter point doesn't mean that much. You get another 4%, a quarter point is huge.
Yeah,
So I
that,
can see why it's further refined.
that's actually exactly what one of them
Yep.
tells me.
Okay, we accept your evidence now?
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry I haven't provided a written submission, but.
Well, we'll listen to what you have to say.
Okay.
Okay?
This reassessment is a increase in the assessed value of 13.37% from the previously assessed amount of $641,266. I noticed that the justification for the assessment is they only show the 1 year, and they haven't taken into previous years into account, and perhaps it's just an anomaly. And if the 2 years had been taken, there might have been a better outcome. I have little quarrel with the actual amount for the that they've shown. It's a little high, which would indicate why my assessment's a little high. But overall, it's a pretty good paper, better than I see a lot of times. And so, kind of, you know, on the one hand, nice, on the other hand, too bad for me. But you know, I would suggest that it is slightly high, that, you know, the actual income should have been used and probably spread over 2 years. Reason being, because it's nice to have a model to follow. I understand the difficulties in mass assessment, but I'm here trying to get the assessment to more correctly show what my building is worth. It has a 6.6 cap rate. I think, well, I'm not saying that's low on their scale. It's just every year they seem to sink, and I don't know the reason for that, but I can tell you this building is built in 1935 from my experience and what I've been told. It has very little in the way of upgrades. It's all, like in 52, I think they did some wiring, but you know, it's all clawfoot bathtubs, there's no showers. There's no upgraded windows. There's nothing like that. And I would think that the higher cap rate of 7.73 that is allowed under this spread that they've determined would be more applicable because of the deferred maintenance issues and the actual lack of upgrades to the building. I think considering all of that, probably an assessment in the area of $675,000 would be reasonable and not a huge jump over the previous year's assessment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions of the applicant, Mr. Professor?
So it's built in 1925 originally, correct?
I've been told 35, that was built during the Depression.
So what sort of upgrades have been done to the property?
Fire doors have been done over the years. Originally, this building would have had just wooden doors, and at one point they would have done fire grade up where they would put 5/8 inch drywall, and those have been switched out to actual fire rated doors. The wiring is not knob and tube, but it has been changed at one point. I would hazard a guess from the vintage of the wire, about 1950 sometime. The plumbing is galvanized with some repairs here and there. The drain stacks and such are all the same. The roof is old. We repointed the brickwork about 4 years ago. And that'd be it. Just, we maintain it. And the reason my expenses are a little low is I do a lot of the work myself, and that doesn't show up in these papers. If I hired people to do stuff, we'd have a different outcome right now. So I'm kind of penalized on the one hand for supplying my own labor to do repairs because it doesn't show up, and so I can't use it as an expense and then ask in turn for a lower assessment.
Just reading the notes from the property, at a past board revision, it was brought up that there was some RAP program funding in early 2000.
No, that's our next subject.
Oh, that's the next one?
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay. Not any further questions, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lister, any questions of the applicant?
I have no questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, do you have any questions?
Just the odd one. You had mentioned that the gross is close to the same as what your questionnaire reads, so you're
Yeah.
happy with the gross figure?
Yeah, based on how they're doing things, I think it's a reasonable outcome. Of course, I want them to use the actuals because it suits my purpose. But no, really, based on a mass type of a system like this isn't a bad shake at it.
So the percentage of expenses, the city concluded 61.43, so would your expenses be around that figure too?
They are actually, although they, as I previously mentioned, they don't reflect my labor value.
Yeah.
You'll
Your
get.
sweat equity.
Exactly. You'll get in there a lot of materials, but the labor is a lot lower than it should have been.
Okay, so do you have any trouble with vandalism or anything like that, or graffiti on the building, or?
It's huge now.
Yeah.
You know, that area, when I bought it, I bought these two buildings in 1997. Things were tough around there, but they weren't horrible. Since then, this area has, like, in the last 3 or 4 years, really gone downhill. I have problems that we've never had in 15 years prior. We have meth heads trying to sleep in the basement. We have people breaking into laundry rooms and shooting up and cooking drugs. We have graffiti on a regular basis. We have scrap people that go around and they start fires. People will dump, because it's downtown, they'll dump used furniture in my parking lot. And then the meth heads, or not the meth heads, well, they're usually a combination, will come by with stolen wire and such and throw it into there and then start a fire. And that'll burn the insulation off. Meanwhile, they've just about torched the building. Stuff like that happens regularly. The makeup of the area is changing too, I don't think in a good way. There are a lot of help agencies, I don't really know how to say them all, and I appreciate there's a need for these things, but I think that they're far too concentrated in West Broadway. I think it reaches a saturation. There's like, I don't know, 3-4 soup kitchens and stuff like that, and when you have them all close together in proximity, it affects an area. I think this kind of thing should be spread out into different parts of the city and help everybody sustain these, and they're needed. There's got to be these programs, but it's too much when you try and put them all in one 10-block area.
Do you have a security system to the building?
We don't have money for that. We have
No.
good tenants.
Okay.
I'm very particular about who I rent to.
Yep.
My rents are low. I get a good response to ads, and I typically look for people that have a good rental history.
Do you have an on-site manager or not? No, probably not.
Not officially, but I'm on a lot of people's speed dial.
Okay.
And,
So do you live in the building?
Pardon me?
Do you live in the
No, I
building?
don't. No.
My last question is, you had said that you would be happy with the $675,000
Yes.
for the property. How did you arrive at that?
Basically, I don't have the math in front of me.
Okay, but roughly.
Yeah, roughly. Well, I looked at my actual income that the building's bringing in, that they've shown in the submission, and then used the cap rate of 7.3.
Of 7.3.
Yes, because it is, for the area, the most undeveloped building around. I think any other building in the area has been upgraded, they've gentrified. Another reason I don't do it, I have people that live there for 20 years. And, if I do gentrify the building, then they're all gonna be out on the street. This happened to a number of buildings in the area. Rents have escalated to $1,200 a month. I'm renting a one-bedroom suite for $487.
All right. I thank you very kindly, sir. Thank you.
So I guess two things that are in your favor is, one, you do your own labor, and that might be one of the reasons why you're showing the NOI that you're showing, because you're not paying.
I'm sorry, pardon me?
And I said one of the reasons why I guess you're showing the NOI that you're actually showing
Mhm.
is because you're doing your own labor.
Yes,
And so you actually come out about $2,000 higher than the model.
I would say so.
And I guess the other reason would be that although the city gives you, provides you with a vacancy factor, because your rents are so low, you don't really have a vacancy.
No, not unless we get, you get situations.
Yeah, so those two things will combine,
They will.
make the building operate better than it would otherwise.
It could,
Rather than carrying
basically, we get
vacancies.
vacancies when people don't pay the rent, and
Yeah.
then they work the system. Some people, they seem all fine when you rent to them, but then they know how to stall out. And so they can turn it into 3-4 months before they get an actual eviction, because I can't just go there and say, hey, you get out. There's a process involved in that process through the RTB, and then they can appeal it to the Residential Tenancies Commission, and then there'll be a period of time where they're given, an indication they need to leave, and then if they disregard that, then I have to spend $300 for the sheriff.
Yeah. So
And
you-
then, they're not just waiting
I
around for me
understand,
to
so
show
you
up.
got experience, and that's why you're still choosing to pick your tenants.
Yeah.
to begin with.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, we go on to the next one, which is 680 Broadway?
Yeah.
No, 580 Broadway. Mr. Marakis, when you're ready, you can proceed.
All right, 580 Broadway, 120914, 35000. It's 1912, apartment building, 18 suites, 1 outdoor parking spot, construction class D, wood or steel framed, walls. Total units, the 18, 10 of them are 1 bedroom, 15 are 2 bedroom. Owner has been compliant in handing in all his mailers throughout time that he's had it. So with the model rent of 551.81, get a gross potential of 119,191 with a 61.43% expense ratio. We get a net operating income of 44,777, 6.6 on the cap rate, comes out to an estimated market value of 678, 37,666, about 6.7 per suite. Rent comparables are on page 4. So they are similar to the property in terms of effective year build, construction class. 3 out of the 4 have bachelor units. They bracket the subject property in terms of gross floor area per unit, average monthly rent per unit. It's right along the line with the subject property. The subject property is actually slightly below the other rent comparables. 5 is our cap rate charts. Page 7 is the most recent income and expense mailer submitted to the city, 2017. So you'll see that line 218, the net operating income on this property is 31,534. You look at the modeled net operating income, we're at 44,777. So when I looked into this further, I looked at the notes on the property. At 2016 appeal, it was noted that the rent has been restricted due to 2005 RAP program renovations. The note indicated that the restrictions are in place until 2020. So in regards to, that's all it says. Usually when there's restrictions, it's in regards to raising the rent due to money they received. The applicant probably can answer details in regards to those restrictions better than I can. With it indicated that the restrictions are in place until 2020. Any investor looking at this property with an effective date of April 1st, 2018, these apartments are bought for long-term investments. Buying a property like this, they're not gonna look at the income received under these restrictions, knowing that those restrictions are gonna be gone in 2 years. If we're looking at April 18 to 2020, when the note indicates that the restrictions are not in place anymore, therefore the determination that was made that it would be inappropriate to look at the restriction-based income they received, because any investor doing their own calculations on what this place is worth isn't going to be subject to these same restrictions in less than 2 years. Therefore, modeled income and expenses were used on this property. I wish I had more to tell you about details in regards to the restrictions. I checked title, but the title didn't have any sort of detail other than saying there was some sort of postponement of rights applied to the property. The applicant could probably answer those questions better than I can.
Fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. You can ask the assessor any questions you might have now.
Thank you. To what do you attribute the great differential between the actual income that is used to determine in your market analysis and the actual income of the property? I mean, like, we're talking, what, about 45% higher than the actual outcome of the, and is that fair?
Well, looking at my report, I didn't speak to it, but on the last page, page 12,
Yeah.
there's a rental ad printed out in July. Now, it says income must be below $31,000 a year to qualify. In tandem with the comment that we have in our notes, information that was brought up at previous hearings showing that there's restrictions placed upon this property, I determined that as we're looking for private arm's length market value for profit apartment, anyone buying this knowing that the restrictions are gonna be gone, as far as I know, in 2 years, isn't gonna be buying it for the income received at the end of the restriction period.
Okay, so what you're saying is, yes, you're trying to impose a speculative value on the property in anticipation of a market change?
Well, I'm just telling you how an investor would look at it.
Yeah, but what we're here determining is the actual, right now, like a snapshot. And at that time, I can tell you that I've been like all over this because I can't wait for that day. As you can, imagine. But I've been told this building will have to be renovated again. It isn't just like raise the rents. Although I was told that at the onset, it would have been the outcome. I'm now being told that we will have to go through the regular process of rehabilitating the building and qualifying for, again, even though I've put about $120,000 into it, I'm expecting income back on. It's not happening that way. So whoever buys this will have to.
Well, you're actually not asking questions now, you're making
Okay.
arguments,
Yeah,
which I'll let you do.
I appreciate that, yes. Anyway, okay, well then I'll just, your assessment brochures, they get under model descriptions say that income producing properties are valued for assessment purposes, capitalization of net operating income, the basic blah, 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 goes into the formula, everything else. There's no allowance in your parameters for.
Are you asking a question right now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, go ahead and ask the question, and
Okay.
phrase it as a question, please.
Yeah, so why are you trying to use this other method now?
So, this sort of situation isn't something that is, for instance, Manitoba housing properties, we don't use their rents, their actual rents, because they're not getting market rents either. The appellants that come in here that represent Manitoba housing, they don't use their actual rents either. So we're just looking for open market, what every other place in the neighborhood is looking at, picking up for rent, we're applying to your property. Now, if this property, for instance, say if you had these restrictions on your property and they were signed 2 years ago, and they weren't up for 15 years, then looking at the actual income that it would be receiving would make more sense, because an investor buying this on a long-term basis, pardon me, would factor that in, because they'd be stuck under these regulations. With an April 1st, 2018 reference date, this would come across the table that, yeah, these are the rents, because you're gonna wanna get as much as possible for your place, right? You're gonna say, well, those restrictions are up, so don't base it on the old stuff, they're up in just over a year and a half. So, just looking at market comparables, that's how the rent was determined.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Barrett, any questions of the assessor?
Yes, there's a difference between what the applicant has filled out in regards to their questionnaire and what the city's at, and there's a difference of $40,000 gross. So, does this not wave a red flag for you in regards to the value of the property? The questionnaire shows, like I think a gross of 81 or 82,000, so, it's around, and you're at, 119. So,
Well, overall, the net operating income, the difference isn't.
well, but I look at the potential too, so. So I'm just, you had talked about the RAP program, so I guess it's twofold, and that is that I guess you look at the subject property as being in its current physical condition, and do you not look at the, maybe the potential of the building? But, like you said, there's restrictions on there in regards to, the RAP program. So I guess it's pretty hard to evaluate.
But, what you want me to-
What is my question? What is my question?
I wish it was under the RAP program, because it'd be easier for me to just put it in the.
Yeah, but,
551 isn't that much on rent. If I looked at the sales columns, if I
yeah,
looked at the rent
but you
columns.
look at the other one too, which was, 380. They're not much rent,
Right.
So I'm just, like when they fill out the questionnaires, I mean, the city should use them, and, my question is, like, they fill it out, but you come along and you use a different figure, not even close to, what they completed.
Well, just like with the way Manitoba Housing fills out their rents, we don't look at these as
Yeah,
market
but,
rents.
yeah, oh, well, okay. All right, I have no further questions.
Any questions, Mr. Smith?
I do, on the expense side.
Yep,
I noticed that your expenses are about 71,000,
that is correct.
but on the mailer, it shows as 49,000, if I'm reading this properly, total expenses.
Mm-hmm.
On line 217. So that's also a significant difference. You've inflated the expenses quite a bit. So how does that factor into this? You're much higher on the NOI or the rents, but you're also higher on the expense side.
Well, it negates some of the amount over and above, because we are, like Mr. Maris said, much higher in terms of gross potential rent.
Mm-hmm.
But with that expense ratio acting on the higher rent, you get a higher number of expenses, so the net operating income looks to be about a 19,000.
Mm-hmm.
No more than 19,000,
Well, on the NOI, it's 31 versus
but
44.
44.
25%-ish.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I don't really, just an observation that I noticed that the expenses is significantly higher, and that's model?
It's all model.
Okay. You said that the RAP, is it RAP? RAP?
Yeah.
It expires in 2020. When in 2020?
The applicant, I have a note from March of 2016 indicating that rent has been restricted due to 2005 renovations. They're in place till 2020, so the owner could probably break it down
Okay.
more than I can.
Thank you, just wanted January versus December, it's a big difference, right? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so I know that there's a RAP program, so obviously there was a grant made, and the grant is twofold. One, you improve your building, but secondly, you restrict it on the rent you can charge, so sort of double-edged sword. You get something, but something's taken away. Why isn't there a provision on the expense mailer to show when there's RAPs, how much is forgiven each year? The amount, because it's a debt that's forgiven annually until it's wiped out completely over the restriction period. Because CRA would say that forgiveness of a debt is income. And if forgiveness of income is considered income, if forgiveness of debt is considered income, then that should be part of the income that should be considered. You don't know how much is forgiven annually. I'm sure the applicant will be able to tell us.
It would be
when we
good to
ask
have
them.
that.
Because if you had that information, you saw how much was granted, and if that was included in the income statement, we'd have a higher NOI.
Yeah, that'd be, that's something I'm gonna actually bring back.
Okay? Anyway, I don't think, that was an observation more than a question, I guess.
We all had
Yeah.
observations.
Okay, you can proceed with your evidence.
Okay. I guess first off, a couple comments just in response to the testimony. Manitoba Housing is a different kind of a cap, and this shouldn't even be mentioned here. They're exempt from rent regulations. They have all kinds of regulations they don't need to follow. We shouldn't even be mentioning them because there's pages of what they can and can't do.
I'll say this, okay, they're here to provide a service, you're here to make income. So we see the distinction between the two situations. You're not here to subsidize housing for the populace?
Exactly. Well, it
Go
was
ahead.
never my
Okay,
intent.
so I think that's,
Yeah.
yeah, we agree. Go
Okay,
ahead.
Good, good. Secondly, with respect to providing evaluations, the brochure and handout provided by the city very specifically says that properties are to be evaluated on income. There's no provision for speculation, oh, this might be worth, what if somebody builds the best building in the world next door to my building? Will that make it worth more money? Probably, but is that gonna be talked about in an assessment hearing? No. Secondly, with respect to that type of a thing, I tried when I first bought these buildings, because it would have been at my advantage at that point in time, to have the building valued by way of a market value, because it was far below the income value. I was shot down and actually kind of ridiculed that I'd even consider that, and this was shown to me and just follow the rules. So now I'm saying the same thing, follow the rules. The rules are right here in black and white. Income producing properties are to be evaluated on income and nothing else. There's no provision for anything else. So I just want to respond to that right now. I haven't really submitted anything here today because I've submitted it all in the past. I've submitted copies of my yearly notice to tenants of rent income to justify how low the rents there really are. And it's brought some relief, but very little. So I really don't know what I could have provided today except just to talk to you nicely about it and see where we can go. The assessments department's assessment is not based on the reality of this building. The reality is that it has a very low income, and it'll maintain that way without me being able to change a single thing about it until September 1st of the year 2021. I've been on that lately because I was hoping it was sooner. I'm told I'm not. So we live with that. Now, following that point, if I want to increase income, I have to come up with a rehabilitation plan, go through the process like any other building in the city that needs to have rent upgraded for some reason. So there's no advantage in being in the RAP program, and quite frankly, I'd never do it again. I'd have been way further ahead when I did this if I just borrowed the money and capitalized it over the years, because now I would have market rents, and I wouldn't be in this situation arguing with you guys about what my building's worth. You know, they show the monthly average rent of $517 and, bad writing, $551.81, and a gross potential rent of $119,191. Reality is, gross rent is $81,950.64 with an average rent of $379. If you plug my actual income into the model that the assessment department has used, it capitalizes out at $466,465. And this doesn't, again, reflect my efforts personally, because you can't, there's no allowance for sweat equity on this form. Perhaps there should be that on the form too. I've appealed previous orders to the municipal board, and I've been successful there. I have a check that I just received yesterday from them for the amount of $6,239.16 by way of a refund on assessment appeals. And they actually did take into account the actual income of this property. I don't understand why we have this situation every year with this property where, like, this high income was used on some model. You seen 247 a couple of minutes ago. They were basically the same. Why is this property valued so high? I don't know. I've asked that question, I've never gotten an answer. Nobody can tell me why. I mean, they're within blocks of each other. So it makes no sense at all. In 2014, through the municipal board, the assessment was set at $520,000. In 2018, through the municipal board, the assessment was set at $575,000. And I don't feel any problem with asking for the assessment to be set at $466,500. Expenses are going up, water rates are increasing. The assessment is a direct product of income, and I think it should reflect that. Thank you.
Mr. Akes, any questions of the applicant?
Yeah. How much did you receive from the RAP program in 2005?
I put in $125,000 of my own money, and I got no return on that. And the RAP program was $329,000.
329. Okay, so that's total. Okay, so that's 454,000. What sort of rentals were done?
Copper plumbing, all new windows. I upgraded all doors to steel doors. Basement repair, put in a new copper line to replace, from the road to replace the lead one. Kitchen cabinets redone. At that time, flooring was either refinished or replaced. I'm just thinking here. That's basically it. There's probably some minor stuff. New wiring, did I mention that?
Any stuff in the bathroom?
Yes, we redid the bathrooms, mostly, not all. All the clawfoot tubs were taken out and showers were put in.
Showers. So it looks like pretty much everything was redone.
Yeah, yeah. 17 years now.
Okay.
A lot of it is actually worn out now. It's like, things, some things are good.
Okay. This is appropriate. Is this in better condition than the last property we talked about?
Oh, assuredly.
Okay. So the last one got 3-something on the rents. Would this one in better condition, would you think that it would get more?
If I wasn't constrained by an agreement with the government of Canada, yes.
Okay. Those are my questions, thank you.
Thank you. So is there any questions of the applicant?
No questions.
Mr. Merritt?
No questions, Mr. Chairman?
Okay, so my question basically is, so you got basically a grant from RAP of $329,000
Yeah.
over 15 years, is that correct?
Yes.
And every year they forgive 1/15 of that amount.
Yes.
So you're getting basically a forgiveness of almost $22,000 a year.
Mhm.
And if you added that to your NOI, you'd have a higher NOI than the city has.
Yeah. Don't you think that is offset somehow by my lack of?
Well, I'm just going by
income?
CRA rules, though.
Sure, no, I understand you there, but I think there's just like, I'll give you another example, like just CRA. I own a hotel. And so they come back to me and they say, all the GST has to be prorated between, you know, long-term tenants, and short-term tenants, and then you get a percentage of that, you can use an input tax credit. But they totally just ignore that it's got a bar and a restaurant that are never gonna be residential. And then what they also forget is that this building is zoned commercial, it's commercial. It's not a residential building.
Okay, yeah, but we're talking about this building right now.
Well, we're talking about CRE and this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So I don't have a good answer for you now, but I bet you I could come up with one,
okay, well, maybe next time.
you know? Because I don't think that's, you know, like, that works that way, that it's an income. I derive no benefit from it.
Well, if you put in that $329,000 of your own money, though,
Perhaps we
you know,
should,
there would have been a cost to you that you didn't incur.
perhaps we should be passing on this benefit to the tenants who are receiving the deferred rent.
Yeah, well, I
And
guess so.
they should be claiming it as an income.
Okay. You'll get our decisions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so the last matter on the agenda is 44 Marlowe Court. Thank you, Mr. Sussman.
Thank you very much.
Would you like to swear in on the Bible or affirm without?
Doesn't matter. Very good.
Could you please state your name?
Stan Staszewski.
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Brakis, there's two matters we have to consider. I see that the city's looking for a non-co-op as number one. And the second matter, and I'll let you speak to both because we're gonna have to make a decision, is that we have some written argument that I haven't looked at yet, that was just provided to us this morning. And I want your position on whether you think we should be looking at that argument, in spite of the fact that it's been filed late.
Can I start that one?
You can if you want.
Okay, so, the rule is 2 weeks ahead of time. I haven't had time to review this, haven't had time to go into our system and look up other information we might have in past years about this property. It says right in the Board Revision Commercial Realty applications for revision.
Yeah, we're at the
It's
requirements.
14 days, it's in the Board Revision handbook.
That's why I brought it up
Yeah.
to you. So, okay.
I object to it being used for any consideration.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Well, I'll let you speak. Go ahead. Okay, you can address that matter.
if I may, so did I. Did not get this information until this morning. I didn't have time to confirm, to check it out, to prepare it.
Okay, but not having time though is not sufficient. The fact of the matter is that you knew this application was coming forward today. You knew the requirements, and if everybody came here and said, I don't have time, and rules are made for a reason. They're made because you get your information from the city 2 weeks ahead of time, so you can go through it and be prepared for today. And the assessor has to have the same opportunity of being able to
get
prepare.
today. I got this information today.
Well, maybe you picked it up.
I didn't get it before.
Okay, well, we'll let Mr. Brakis address that as well then.
Well, I submitted my information on time.
Yes,
That's in the system.
right.
The time the applicant comes and picks it up.
Okay.
I'm not involved. in
Do you have
that
any
process.
other thing to say about why we should use your written information, even though it was only provided this morning? And it's been in 2 weeks ago.
First, I think I should have the same opportunity like assessor, supplied the information for me. If they had it before, they could have sent it to my office. I would have got it and prepared myself for it. And the other thing is that this information is pertinent to this hearing.
No, it might very well be pertinent, but the fact of the matter is the rules indicate that the evidence has to be before us 2 weeks ahead of time, and we have to consider whether we should allow your evidence, in spite of the fact that you're late. And you'd have to have an explanation that would compel us to make that decision. And so I'm allowing you to make, I'm gonna tell you that not having time is not gonna be sufficient, because everybody could have that argument. I don't think, my board members who are with me, I have only one vote, but I'm telling you at this point, the way I'm leading,
Yeah.
I'm certainly not the deciding vote, because I don't know how my two panelists are gonna be considering the matter, and they could all vote me.
I understand that. At the same time, for the last over 4 years, I've been not healthy to be every day, in a position that I could do my daily work, what I do. And most of the time I was in bed or going to MRIs or other, health things. So, like I said, I do not have a time for that, and I did not know that I have to do it before.
Okay. You know what, because we're gonna have to come to, I don't wanna have to adjourn twice.
Yeah,
Now I'd like you to address the non-cooperation,
yeah.
and we'll decide on both after.
So, going for non-cooperation on this property, shifting of burden of proof. If you look at page 2, the request, well, the subject sale, the most recent sale, $720,000 in 2003. The chart above it shows that there was compliance on this property in 2008, 2009, and then it stopped in 2010. Up until, as recorded here, until 2017. So it looks like there was a period of time. It looks like the applicant is aware that they have to submit the mailers to us. We make requests. They haven't been doing it the past 7 years, but prior to that, at least in 8 and 9, they were. So this is not something new. You go to page 7, to the tracking report showing that we sent out registered mail. Page 8 shows cover of the registered mail being sent to Nichols Management, Unit 2744, Marlow Courts. They haven't returned their mailers in years. It's not like it's a one-off or anything like that. Therefore, non-compliance was sought.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, so you're aware of the fact that you get mailers every year. You have to complete those mailers and send them back to the city, otherwise you'll be considered non-compliant, and there are penalties for that. The penalties are, first thing, the burden of proof shifts to you to show that the assessment is inaccurate, whereas right now, ordinarily, the city has to show that it is accurate, in fact. And the second matter would be you'd have to proceed first, and the city second. And lastly, if you are successful today, your decrease in assessment will only take effect next year, not this year. So those are the penalties, and what do you have to say for the reason why you have not completed the mailers and sent them back?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I was supplying every year the statements of income and expenses for the property. And until 2010, where in 2010, the rent increase in Manitoba was set by government to 1%, and the city assessed the value of the property of $462,000.
No, excuse me, right now, I just want you to address why you didn't return the mailers, or why you think that we should, in spite of the fact that you didn't return the mailers, not grant the city their application for non-cooperation. Okay, that's all I'm interested in right now.
Because from what I seen, what was happening, it didn't make any reason to do it, because the city was not taking into consideration what was sent to them.
Okay, so the
When-
reason you
when
said
they-
it was because you didn't think the city was listening to it?
That's correct. They didn't listen to it because they increased of 80%.
Okay, do you have any other arguments other than that? Because we're gonna consider all your arguments, and if you have anything else that you want us to consider, please let us know what it is.
No, I don't.
Okay, you know what, because there's only 2 of you here and there's 3 of us, I'm gonna ask that the 2 of you leave the room, and we'll make our consideration and let you back in once we've done so. Okay, so we made our decision, and first of all, we're gonna grant the city's non-cooperation because it's necessary to return the mailers every year. And if you don't do so, that's the penalty, and we really don't have any jurisdiction to not grant it unless there's a compelling reason not to, and you didn't give us a compelling reason that we can consider. We also have determined we're not gonna look at the statement that you provided this morning, because again, there's a requirement that has to be filed 2 weeks ahead of time. It's for the fairness of both the assessor and for yourself, that you have time to review the information on a commercial matter. And if it's just thrust into the hands of the parties right beforehand, you don't have opportunity of doing that necessary checking over to make sure that it's accurate, or if you have any questions regarding it, they can't really formulate those questions. And under those circumstances, we're gonna have you then go forward now, you'll proceed first, and we will not consider the income statement you provided to us today. So we can get that back to you, it's not gonna form part of the evidence. And if you've got a copy too, you can return it then.
So it is okay for the city of Winnipeg not to?
Can we hang on to this?
No, because
No.
you can't, if it's not evidence, it's not fair,
Okay.
you can take it, if you can't use it, then you shouldn't have it.
Okay, okay.
You know, you can have it both ways. Either you keep it and we'll let it, then we'll all consider it, and,
Okay,
okay?
okay.
Well, if you want it, you can have it, but then we're gonna let it go in and we'll use it.
Not for this hearing, but
Okay.
for reviewing his property.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
okay? You have to use your model.
okay.
So you can proceed for why you think that the 2018 or 2020 assessment is too high. Tell us why.
Yes, but first, if I could ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Why is it okay for the assessor not to give me in advance?
See, it was filed and you had to know, it was in the system, you had to pick it up. And if you came here 2 weeks ago to get it, it would have been here for you.
Was that set in the?
Notification when the material goes out tells everybody the rules that you follow. And if you would have looked at it, you would have saw that the information would have been available to you if you came to get it.
There's nothing said about that I can go and fill out.
Do you want to address that, Mr. Barakas?
Yeah, I got the Board of Vision Commercial Realty Assessment Applications for Revision, there's a PDF on the website. About 1/3 of the way down, it says the day after the due date, the assessment and taxation department submission will be available for pickup. Board of Vision office. It's there.
There's nothing in the letter that they sent to me.
No, where did you say that is? Because, you know, I
It's
know
a,
it's,
it's a PDF.
oh, it's PDF, but
It's a PDF that I printed off.
is it given to everybody? Every commercial
No.
applicant who
Who
comes here?
appeals? I actually don't have a copy of the application.
Because basically, it's an interesting point that Mr. Sisirski is bringing up. If he doesn't know that he should pick it up.
It doesn't mention in the letter.
Excuse me, we heard that already. I'm letting Mr. Barakas address it now.
I actually don't have a copy of the application.
Yeah.
Secretary might have a copy of in the file. Should have a copy. The actual application underneath that, Kelsey. That one, right there. That's the application.
Yeah. It must-
It's stated on the back here.
There's a letter, this letter that goes with it, Kelsey?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is sent with it, and is, yeah, and it's a PDF you have too. The back of the PDF is on
Figuring on the letter.
the letter.
Yeah.
Policies, procedures.
Yep.
Okay, so if you, Mr. Sisirski, if you would have read the material sent to you, you would have noted that you could have, it was available to pick up 2 weeks ago.
On the back of this letter.
That letter that you asked the city is.
I just read this one here.
Yeah, but you're reading it back now, so unfortunately, that's the way it's always been done. And you're the first person in all the years I've ever sat on this board who
Didn't read the back.
didn't read the back and had that observation.
Sorry.
So that's why I wasn't prepared for it, because I never expected it. But anyway, so go ahead.
Well, I would like to ask the assessor if the
No,
property is.
No, we're not asking the session right now. Now you're making your presentation
Well,
on why you're overassessed.
because the rent that is right now in this building, it's lower than average. And Yes.
Okay, so, tell us basically then, because we're not gonna look at your material, but you can actually give it to us verbally, and tell us what your gross rent is, what your vacancy factors are, what your NOI is, your net
Yeah.
operating income, and what cap rate do you think we should be using, and why?
Well, right now, the rent in this building is as it used here in the city. The only difference is when they look at the comparables, may look at them. Can the board look at those comparables or not?
We can, although usually we don't look at the city's presentation until they, but if you want to direct it to us, absolutely you can, it's before us.
But
So this is your presentation, you can use the city's material in your presentation, so you want us to look at we will look at the comparables.
No, well,
Okay.
basically, also without using this.
See on page 4,
presentation,
yeah, we can look at that, go ahead.
On page 4, there are comparables provided by the city, which took, if you notice, 150 Hudson Drive and 151 Maple Glen Drive. And in those comparables, they used in the last position as a hit in rent. If you check it out, they used those properties had a hit in rent included, where the other properties that the city supplied did not have a hit included in rent. So the tenants were paying their own heating. Now, the difference between the rent that is in Maples and 44 Marlowe Court and those two properties that the city uses as comparables, which have also the heating included in the rent, it's roughly $100 per month per suite. Now, $100 per month per suite, roughly based on 5 caps, comes to about 12. $24,000 per suite difference in a total value by the suite. I don't know if
We follow.
yeah.
Okay.
So if the others were incomparable, they were used like it should be around 80,000 or 85,000. I didn't have time to look exactly. Then 44 Marlowe, according to the income and expenses that it has, should be at $24,000 less, using the caps rate that the city was using in the other buildings and this building, because the rent was lower by some amount, which comes to $24,000 per suite. Now, regarding the expenses, the city is showing most of the time when you appeal, is showing that potential income. Now, potential income, it's a very broad sense of saying that, because it can be the top high value, and that's probably what is taken under consideration when it comes with the potential gross income, but it not necessarily be showing the proper picture of the situation. Because if you have, for example, $700 or $800 revenue from the suite, and the tenant is moving out, and you just send someone to clean the suite and rent to the next tenant, your expense is not high enough. And you could save some money going towards the potential gross rent income. But the way I do it in 44 Marlowe Court is that when the tenant moves out, I always do paint the suite before it's rented to another one. And for specific reason that when the tenant moves in, I don't want to go with the condition report saying, oh, here is, a little bit dirt on the wall, here is this, here is that. They are moving to the suites, we are completely freshly painted, and the condition is number 1A. So that reflects my expense ratio compared to the other properties.
Okay, and I guess what we'd like to know is, you tell us that you got there, but what is your
Income and expense.
what is your income expenses? How much
Yes.
NOI do you have, and what
Yes.
cap rate do you think we should use?
For the year 2018, actual income from the whole building, which was sent to my accountants, which was used for income tax purposes for Revenue Canada, was rent gross was $191,470. That's the actual rent for the whole year. Now, and the expenses, would you like me to go through the expenses point by point or total?
Tell us what they were for, now, I want to see how they compare to the cities,
Yes.
first of all.
Yes. And the expenses total were $126,212.17. So the net operating income for the year 2018 was $65,257.83.
Okay, can I have that again, please? Sorry. NOI was 65?
NOI was $65,257.83.
Yep.
Now, after sending this to my accountants, they obviously added on top of that the capital depreciation, so they took it off. So
Yeah, we don't need that,
Yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah,
for income tax,
yeah,
but we
yeah.
don't.
But
yeah.
those were the expenses that I had for
Mhm.
2018.
Okay, so your expenses, I'm just looking ahead, are much higher than what the cities are. And,
Yes.
So I think that maybe you should tell us why your expenses are so much higher than the model.
Yeah, the expenses are much higher, and it would have been even higher than that if I hired for everything that has to be done and is being done in the building. I hired services from other companies to do it, either plumbers or electricians or roofers or anyone else. So most of those labor, most of the labor, I'm doing it myself. Because for the last few years, even when you call just a plumber or electrician or anyone else to come and do the job, first thing they do, they tell you what service called just to come.
Okay, you know what I
So-
think? I think, that's not really very helpful. I think maybe what we better get from you is give us all your expenses and what they were, because then Mr. Breakus can then have something that he can go on when he questions you about them.
So point by point,
Yes.
so net gross operating, gross income you already
Yes,
had.
I gave it to us,
So
right?
now property tax 25,626, 79, gas hydro 19,021.59, water 13,862.60, insurance,
Sorry, could you go back to, so it was after tax, it was what?
gas hydro
So gas, and it was
021.59,
19,021, okay, and then,
water
mhm,
13,862.60,
13,862,
insurance 2146.91,
21,
46.91,
846?
2146.91,
446.
21,406.
repairs and maintenance 23,300,
23,000,
management 19,500,
17,500.
Mortgage interest, 17,807.
So that one was 17,807, you said?
Yes.
807.
Bank charges, 228.73.
2273.
Advertising, 382.
382.
Intercom, 588.
Sorry, what was the last one?
Intercom,
Intercom, okay. And that's 588.
588. Administration fee, 1548.
1548. And,
And telephone and internet, 2200.
phone.
And that adds up to?
126 to 12. I rounded it up.
Okay. Okay, so what is your, what cap rate, if you haven't, you looked ahead and you see what the city's using as a cap rate, do you have anything to say
Well,
about
the
that?
city is using cap rate of 5.3. Well, I would have to have a calculator to come exactly what the net operating income would translate to the value. But based on 5 caps, which is not far away from what city is using, 5.3 if I remember, right? 5.3?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So you're just using 5 caps instead of 5.3. It translates to 1.3 million, a little bit over 1.3 million.
So you want 1.3 million, and you're saying you're doing that using a 5 cap instead of a 5.3?
Using 5 caps translates to a little bit over 1.3. But using 5.3 caps, it will be under 1.3.
Okay, and that comes down to the current assessed value, which is very close to 2 million.
Yes,
Okay, anything else?
that's it. They have-
So, Mr. Barakis, you can ask any questions you might have.
Okay. So this is from 2018, correct?
Yes.
So January 1st to December 31st, 2018. Okay. You mentioned 191,470 on rent. Is that gross rent after?
That's a gross rent after vacancy, which is not included here because that's the rent that the building brought in.
Okay, so this is what you receive. So this is like effective gross rent then, so post vacancy. Does that include, there's 23 outdoor parking spots too, correct? Is that included?
They don't pay parking.
So-
It's included. It's not included, but it's free.
It's
They
included in
cannot-
the rent of those who have the spots?
They don't pay extra for the parking.
Okay, so that's everything you get, like laundry, everything, that's
That's
the
everything,
bottom
that's the
line.
gross income that is here.
Okay, so that's our effective gross rent. Can you, the insurance figure,
Yes?
I believe I heard 21, did you say $21.46?
No, I said 2,146.
2,100, okay, 2,000, okay, that's my error, I apologize. Okay, so you've got 23 units here, you're sitting at about 1,000 per suite, repair and maintenance. So you have management at 19,500, correct?
Yes.
So that is about 10%
Yes.
of effective gross income?
Yes.
Are you aware that when we stabilize properties, and we have conversations with applicants, typically on the market, it's stabilized at 5%?
Well, the 5% was the standard used for many, many years. I was working for, in real estate for 26 years, selling exactly apartment buildings. And that's what I myself, when I was working before I retired, was using as a standard 5%. But in this management fee, in this situation, is also included, because I manage it myself, it's also included the labor that I put in. For the first about 10 years, I didn't get paid a penny for the work that I was putting in. even though I managed it and was doing all the work, most of the work there. In the last 4 years, that was the first time that I was able to finally pay myself for doing the work and managing the project.
Okay, so you're saying in that management fee, that also includes fees you would have had to pay somebody else to
That,
do the-
it's, if I hired, like I said before, if I hired, did you drive by the building?
Unfortunately, no.
No. So, but I cannot supply any information because it's not allowed. But when I purchased the building was in very bad shape. Now I put over $300,000 into it and changed. I take a loan for that and changed the windows, put new roof, put new exterior siding, insulation under that, new parking. So I had to take care of that, otherwise the building would go to the point of degradation. So. But at the same time, my hands were tied up to raise the rent to reflect that. And Mr. Chairman, if you let me, I can explain why.
Well, I'm letting you, I'm not stopping you, go ahead.
Okay.
Keep on talking.
You see, when big companies do the work, and it's happening very often, they have a power behind them. When they put application for increase of rent over and beyond the set value. And they belong to a landlords association, they manage, thousands of units, so they can talk differently. When I was doing the job, I calculated that my increase would be $260 based on the regulation that is provided when you apply for it. At the same time, it was scaled down and on a basis which didn't make any sense. And I give you an example only, if you may.
I'd like to get the point because, you're sort of losing me with, it'd be nicer if you could just answer the questions directly instead of going on all these tangents, which are really taking us away from where we were to begin with. You already made your argument, so.
Yeah, so
I'd like to just answer questions now.
I didn't get exactly what I should have gotten. I would have to apply for hearing the commission, and I got sick at the time, and I was like 3-4 months laying in bed. I couldn't move. The time lapsed, and I couldn't do anything else. So the rent wasn't brought up to the market value at the time, or market standard at the time for 100 suite.
Have you since gone to tenancy branch and tried to get the rent raised to market
No,
levels?
I didn't, because you see right now I am, like I said, 4 or 5 years, recent years, there are times where I cannot move, or I can walk with cane, or I can walk like I'm walking today, which is great. Spinal stenosis, I don't know if you know what it is, but that's what it is. And I'm here today. I can come here today, but not always I can do that.
Are you aware that the inclusion of mortgage interest in the calculation of total expenses is not something the city factors?
I gave you the actual expenses, what I had,
Mhm.
and everything is reflected in it.
So mortgage
No.
interest is included in that 126?
Well, I'm working with actual numbers. I'm not working with the numbers that is in a model. You have an actual income, actual expenses. So you can deal with it the way you want to, but that's what it is. It's not taken from air, it's taken from reality.
Do you think the rent you're getting today is market rent or is it too low?
Oh yes, oh yes. close, not far away from 44 Marlborough Court on Jefferson, close to the Jim Gotch's old dealership. There are a few on the west side of McPhillips. There are a few properties which are much worse than mine, and the rents are $100 per month high for one bedroom.
Those are my questions.
Thank you. Mrs., do you have any questions of the applicant?
I don't have any questions.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
do you have any
Mr.
questions?
Chairman, we have a bunch of questions. Whereabouts is the subject property, exactly?
The 44
Maples?
It's when you drive Henderson Highway in Maples, yeah.
Yeah, okay. You had mentioned Gochase.
Yeah,
Is it, it's
You
around
drive-
Gochase?
You drive McPhillips,
Yeah,
north, you pass Jim Goche, first across, past Jim Goche's Maple Glen, and you drive from Maple Glen west, after first stop saying turn left is Marlowe Court,
okay.
before Shepherd. It's right, Coca-Cola behind the fence, and the property is located in a point where across the street on Marlowe Court, there's Manitoba Housing, which was giving me lots of problems. Lots of vandalism was there. And then behind, on the south side of behind the parking, there's Coca-Cola plant.
Okay.
And on the west side of the building, there's also rental properties, which belongs to some native band, I don't know. So it's not in a very nice neighborhood.
How long have you owned this property?
Since 2003,
2003?
yes.
Pay market value at the time?
I paid the market value. As a matter of fact,
Was it listed for sale, or was it private?
I had it listed for sale
Okay.
with the former owner. And I sold basically the property to Globe General Agencies. At the time, Globe General Agency purchased the Court of St. James for over 20 million at the time. And even though the property was sold, I talked to the owner, to the Globe General Agencies, to Mr. Morans, and because they had so much work to do with the Court of St. James at the time, they said, listen, we need more time before we can deal with this property, even though we already bought it on the paper. But the former owner gave them a month, and it wasn't enough. And after the month, the former owner said, well, then I'm not going to wait any longer. So I went back to the purchasers and asked them, informed them about the decision, and they said, no problem, if they cannot wait any longer until we finish with Corpus St. James, then we can, by agreement, cancel the sale. So when the sale was cancelled, I asked the vendor if she wouldn't mind if I purchased the property. And that's how it happened. For the price that Globe General Agency was paying.
So, the building is like 49 years old.
It was built in 1970. Yeah.
So makes
Yeah.
it 49 years old.
Yeah.
I think. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. You said you put new windows in, new roof.
Yes.
New siding.
Yes.
And what'd you do to the parking lot? Pave it?
Pave it, asphalt, yeah.
Asphalt?
Asphalt and the board.
And you said you spent about 300,000?
Close to 300,000.
And what year was that?
That was 12 or 13.
Okay, 12 or 13, okay. So, at the time, was rent control in effect probably?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So did you go before, I think
I
the
had to.
assessor had asked, did you go before the
Yes, I
rent
had.
control?
Yes, I had.
And what was the results?
It was increased from, well, I don't know.
What sort of an increase were you looking at?
by the regulation that I read in the papers at the residential tenancy branch, the increase was warranted to 260 or 50 or $60 per suite. That's the way it was supposed to
Okay.
be calculated. But they had some room there.
Yeah,
For example, the thickness of the insulation, what it was, and so on. So they were using, instead of lower terms for amortization, higher term. So the increase in rent translated to about $140.
148.
Yeah.
Did you have to, what happened to the tenants at the time?
Yes.
The increase, was the increase passed on to the tenants?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and did some of them leave, or
Some of them.
some of them? Okay. Did you have to, vacate the suites at all?
What do you mean by vacated? When they left,
Like, when you were doing,
The
some of the
renovations?
repairs and that,
At the time when I was doing renovation, it was done just to prevent further deterioration of the exterior of the building, mostly. And that's why I said the siding, the roof, the windows, and the parking was done.
Okay.
And the inside is done every time the tenant moves out. Doesn't matter how long they live, the inside is done at the time when they are out. So that takes the time about
Yeah.
a minimum 1 month or month and a half, 2 months before it's again rented.
You had talked about your expenses, and you had mentioned 19,500 for management.
Yes,
Do you manage it yourself, or do you have,
Myself.
who manages it? Globe?
me,
You?
yes,
So you pay yourself then?
yes.
Okay. So you are the management company?
Well, I have everything, and
Okay.
the plumber, electrician, and everything what you want, and cleaner, whatever you want.
Okay. Do you have an on-site caretaker?
I have a lady who just cleans.
Cleans? Okay. Who does the snow?
When I can, I do.
Okay.
If I can.
Do you have
I
a
can-
tractor?
No, I don't.
How do you clean it?
When I'm able to do it and can move, usually a shovel, because you cannot use anything else, the snow blower, because the tenants are parking there, so you can damage the cars. So
Okay. So, what do the tenants pay?
the tenants, what they pay?
Yeah.
What is
What the-
included?
No, what's included, or what,
When the tenant moves in, then they don't pay anything else. The water is included,
yes,
the gas heating is included,
okay.
the electricity is included, and the parking is free, which is
Which
not
is included in the rent.
It's not included, but it's free.
Okay.
The rent
So if
is-
they don't have a car,
they don't have a car, they don't park.
okay, yeah, but what happens to the rent?
No,
Is it decreased?
The rent doesn't, no.
Okay, so it's all included.
And I explained to you very quickly why. You see, when I applied for increase over and above, the parking was never included in the rent. The former owner had the parking free, which is a difference, included in the rent. It was not included in the rent, but was free as a discount. And the way he was doing the business was, for him it was okay. Now, when I put the application for increase to residential tenancies, they did increase everything else, and also they increased the parking to $40 per stove, per suite. And that's what I was supposed to charge them. A year later, when I gave them application, not application, but papers with increase of rent, with the increase of what was allowed by the government, over a year later, they said, oh, no, parking is not included. So they retracted the $40 on what they approved on the hearing, $40 from it. And like I said, at that time, I got sick, I couldn't move, I was in bed for 3-4 months, so I couldn't do anything about it.
Just a couple more questions, and that is that, your expense ratio, what does it normally run? You know, roughly? You know, over the years?
Over the years, well, I could have brought, but it wouldn't make a difference because I could have brought the papers from my accountant for the last, you know,
But
since I have it.
You know, is it 55%, 65%?
Within about, within about 60%.
Okay. So the cities that,
When-
well,
when-
we
when I
haven't
was
heard that
working-
evidence
When
yet.
I
so-
was working, you know,
Okay.
in real estate,
Okay.
it was the people who are in this business and having all those big numbers of suites, they were looking at about roughly 50%. Now I see the city of Winnipeg looking at under 50%. So I don't know what takes now because, like I said, I retired early, so I am not in touch with those things.
So, you think the value should be about 1.3?
Based on what is here, that would reflect value of this building at this time. Now, like I said, if I was hiring for all the work that has to be done, and there is lots of work, it would have been much, much more than the repairs and maintenance that are here showed and the management together.
And you had said that your cap rate would be around 5%?
On this building,
Yeah.
in my opinion, it's too high. That's my opinion only. The cap on this one, in this location, should be around 6.
But you had said before, though, that I think this, well, we haven't heard from the city, but the city is at 5.3. But you had said that it should be around 5.
No, no, I said for easy calculating when I was giving
Okay,
it. Yeah.
okay. So
Just for that.
you're changing your cap rate to then 6.
It should be around, you know, well, considering the income, considering the location, and considering the condition of the building, I would say it should be around between 5.3 and 6%. That's my opinion. Now, again, when it comes to the sale, and it sooner or later will come to that because I cannot much longer do it. It could be that the building will be sold for better price that I am right now, I'm talking today. Because you have a different people who are on this market and who are looking for taking over the building, buying it, paying the extra, you know, higher value, and then changing them to condominiums or whatever it is, putting some money in and selling the condominiums for much higher price than it would come from the valuation of being as an apartment suite.
Is the building registered as a strata title?
Well, it's not condominiumized.
No, okay. So,
No, the building down the street
okay.
it was done years ago. So this one is a strictly apartment building.
Okay. So, in a nutshell, your building's in good shape then?
Yes, I brought it and I'm still bringing it in because I'm working right now on bringing the interior, which I'm planning to do this year to finish it. Hallways, new carpets on the hallways and painting the hallways and so on. So after that will be done, the building can be in a good condition. And that's the way I like to keep it.
I thank you very kindly, sir. Thank you.
And I have no further questions because Mr. Mayor covered everything, and Mr. Rankin did a good job on one thing that I would have asked you as well, so. You can go ahead with your events, Mr. Rankin.
05-00407-4300, 44 Marlow Court, 2020. Roll year, our reference date is April 1st, 2018. Assessed value, model generated 1,965,000. We got 1970 on the year built, no effective year built on it. 23 suites, 23 outdoor parking spots, concrete masonry bearing walls. property was purchased, as mentioned, 2003 for $720,000. The 23 suites, they're one bedrooms. In the absence of any sort of information, model figures were used. The gross potential rent.
May I?
No, you've already given your evidence, right now you're finished giving evidence, you can ask questions after if you have them.
It's not about that. I just.
Oh,
Oh,
you might have to
fine.
move
Oh,
your car?
Okay.
I have to go, otherwise they may throw away my car. It's
Tell you
already
what,
2 hours.
we'll give you a few minutes to put some money in your meter.
Yes, that's
Okay,
exactly
we'll
what I
cover
was
your
going
meter,
to
okay.
ask.
All right.
I thought you were gonna argue with.
Oh, no.
That's fine.
You have to move your car.
Yeah, I have to put some more money,
Yes,
because there's the
yes,
2 hour
yes.
parking, I couldn't do it anymore.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, you're welcome. Ms. Breakers, remember exactly where you were? If you want to go back a little bit farther to make sure that we get everything, you can do that as well, since we're interrupted.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So the subject purchased last November of 2003 for $720,000. 23 one-bedroom units is what the building is comprised of. Model rent was $767 and $16. With a 3% vacancy rate applied, we get $205,384 on the EGI, 49.29% expense ratio for a net operating income as derived by the model of $104,150, capped as per age, area, and size at 5.3, generates the value of $1,965,000 rounded, or $85,434 per suite. Rent columns before. You'll see they're in the area. They are 3 of the 4 are higher. One is lower. However, though they are higher, they do include 2-bedroom units. The subject is all 1-bedroom units, which would garner less on the open market than a 2-bedroom unit would. But they're all in the same area. 2 masonry bearing walls, 2 wood frame steel stud walls. Gross floor area per suite. The subject property is lower, that's expected at the 1-bedroom unit only composition. Our cap rate table is on page 5. So without any sort of information, my hands are tied on this one to have any sort of analysis in terms of past income and expenses. That's why I want to hang on to this stuff, not to be used, but just so we can go back and if we ask for it so we can adjust our model around to fit. Please submit them earlier.
And if you want to, it's up to you. You can give a copy of what you want to present today to the department. It's up to you. It's not evidence here, but Mr. Briggs said he might find it interesting to help you, but that's up to you.
So what was model parameters on everything? That's my evidence then.
If you have any questions of
Yes,
the session, you can ask them now, sir.
Yes. Those comparable properties, were the properties sold, or how did you?
Oh, no, these are for rent comparables.
So
I don't have any knowledge.
They weren't sold.
I don't have any knowledge if they were sold or not, no.
Well, so there could be a situation that even though the assessment is such as it is, if the property was sold, it couldn't bring a lower value than the assessed value. Isn't there a possibility?
I'm not sure, so you're saying,
Well, if
That-
the properties are assessed at such a value as it is in the rent comparables?
well, no, those are just for rents. That's not for value, that's just for rent comparisons in the area.
See, what they've done is people who submit their expense ratios, they showed their rents.
Yes.
So the city's able to use those other people's, mailers to find out what comparable rents in your area are. And if you would have submitted yours, they would have had your rent as well, but you didn't submit it.
Yeah. Yeah, but those rents, like I said, in some of them, the heating is not included. Obviously, the tenant pays their own heat, which comes to about, in the winter time, $200 more.
I
Plus
don't know,
minus,
I don't
yeah.
know, it's
That's what it
something
comes.
that they have to cover.
Mhm. So in 44 Marlow, the heating is included in it.
Mhm.
So that should reflect, I suppose, higher cost of in expenses.
You'd also get higher rents, right?
No,
Well, because, I mean, given two places are the same, if they're one where the heat's included,
that's
that
right.
the manager would recognize that and have those people pay for their rent and
Yes, that's what
upping the rent
that's,
amount.
that's what I'm saying, that in 151 Lake Glen and 150 Adson,
Mhm.
those comparables shown by you as heat is included in rent, so the tenants don't have.
So that would, those would be better comparables, is that what you're saying?
Well,
Because it's included in your rent too, right? So if we're looking apples to apples here, we'd be
Yes,
focusing more on
yes,
the ones.
yes.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, I know what you're
And,
saying.
and at the same time, those two properties that you brought up here,
Right.
the rent is plus minus $100 a month high.
The average monthly rent per unit is higher,
Yeah.
but it's higher than yours, but also.
Plus minus, yeah.
Yeah, but also recognizing the fact that you're only one bedrooms, right?
Yes,
And you can
that's
get-
right.
And you can get more for a two bedroom.
That's right.
So their average rent is higher because approximately half, or in one case, more than half, of
Mhm.
their total units are actually two bedrooms. That's why
Yes,
their
but-
rent is
yes.
higher.
But at the same time, even though there's a one or two bedrooms, as you know, the city of Winnipeg and Manitoba, the rent is controlled. So if someone had a lower rent on two bedrooms, it still has a lower rent on two bedrooms. Even sometimes maybe a situation where the two bedrooms will be close to rented as one bedroom because of the rent control.
Okay,
Because there may be a differences between, because I used to have a differences in my building that, say, when I bought it, one rent was $480.
Okay, you're giving evidence now, you're asking questions,
Yeah.
okay, and
But
please
I'm
try.
explaining.
No, I understand, but try to keep it simple so we can follow. Right now, you've already given all your evidence, we've let it, you've been questioned
Mhm.
extensively, and I'd like to try to keep the amount of comments down to succinct questions that you can get direct answers on.
Yeah. Now, you worked probably as assessor for how many years in the city?
I've been with the city since 2000.
I don't think that's pertinent anyway.
A question I want to ask. I want to ask a question. In your opinion, how is it possible that the assessment from 1 year to another can go 80% up?
How can go
Yeah.
one reference period to another reference period?
Yeah,
Can go
from 1
80%?
year, to another, the assessed value by the city may go up 80%. Even though,
I'm gonna answer that question,
Yes.
because cap rates are coming down so significantly that causes assessed values to go up, because the same rental with a lower cap rate,
80%?
well, anyway, you're saying in 1 year?
Yeah.
Well, I don't
That's
know
why
if
I stopped
I don't know
sending
if I have
them
that evidence
information.
before us, but go
Because
ahead.
when I got, was sending every year information to City of Winnipeg, showing them what was the income, what were the expenses.
So are you saying that your assessment
showed
would up,
me there was no
excuse me, are you
comparison.
saying your assessment would up 80% in 1 year?
Yes,
80%?
80%
In 1 year?
in 2010. 2010 went from
It's not worth
576,000 assessed value by the city in 2009, and in 2010 was
Okay, we're talking about now.
100
Please.
million and 100.
Excuse me, if you wanted to argue that your assessment was too high in
No, no, I was
2010,
just
you
asking.
should have done it then.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
it's not pertinent now.
just asking.
I know, but we're wasting our
Yeah,
time.
yeah. So,
Okay,
and this situation happens a few times.
Okay, any other
So-
questions?
No, I finished with it.
Okay, thank you. Mrs., do you have any questions of the assessor?
Well, I don't, because everything's model-driven, so
Yeah.
it's quite a simple.
And,
And I have none, Mr. Chairman.
and I
Thank
don't
you.
either. Okay, so we'll make our decisions, we'll receive it in due course. Thank you.